Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about qualitative data analysis, but don't worry, we're keeping this simple and practical. At its core, qualitative data is just words, stories, and experiences. The job of the researcher, like you, will turn all of that into something meaningful and highly organized. We need to get familiar with the data first. Before you analyze anything, you have to read or actually read it, not just once, but twice, thrice, or again and again. You can't analyze what you don't fully understand. Let me give you a quick example. A researcher collects student feedback forms but only reads a few responses. Then they conclude most students were satisfied. Sounds okay, right? But in reality, there were a lot of comments about confusion, lack of support, and dissatisfaction. They just didn't read them carefully. That's what we call a failure of reliable data use. Let's bring this closer to our current issue regarding the K to 12 revision. Think about the implementation of this K to 12 program across the years. One of the assumptions was more years equals better education. And yes, other countries had longer systems, so it seemed logical. But the problem is there wasn't enough deep analysis of local readiness, infrastructure, or learner needs. So instead of analyzing actual data, decisions were partly based on assumptions and comparisons. That's what happens when analysis is shallow. Then decide what you're analyzing. Now, once you really know your data, you need to decide, how am I going to look at this? You have options by topic, by case, by time. Well, for example, if you're studying films, you might ask, what are the manifestations of biopolitics in post-apocalyptic films? By case, how is biopolitics shown differently in film A, film B, and film C? Or by time, how has this idea evolved over time? This step gives your analysis direction. Otherwise, you're just floating. You also need to find patterns and themes. You start looking for patterns. You group similar responses together, then give them labels. Let's say you're analyzing dystopian films and you keep seeing lines like this. They are always watching us. Cameras track every movement. Privacy no longer exists. You might group these as quote-unquote total surveillance. Then you see, we must fight back. Freedom is worth dying for. That becomes a resistance or counter-authority movement. You can also connect this theory, to theory like the biopolitics of power theory or the disciplinary power theory. So you're not just labeling at this point, you are interpreting. Then look for relationships. Now, don't stop at just themes. Ask which themes appear together. For example, facing danger, escaping danger, risking lives, emotional torment, building relationships. But be careful. Just because things appear together does not mean one causes the other. Then make meaning. This is where you step back and ask, so what? Let's try a quick example. You have lines like, we follow the rules to stay in order. You don't get to choose who you are. I just want to feel something real. If we don't fight back, nothing will change. So what do we see? Control, loss of identity, desire for authenticity, resistance. Now connect them all together. People feel controlled, they lose identity, they crave something real, they resist. That is the insight. Then stay organized. At this point, things can get confusing very fast. So always keep track of your themes, your categories, your examples. If you lose your structure, your analysis will fall apart. The common mistakes to avoid: overgeneralizing, where everyone thinks this based on just limited responses. The cherry picking quotes, only choosing data that supports your idea, that's biased. Ignoring contradictions, pretending conflicting data doesn't exist, and treating interpretation as absolute truth. Your analysis is an interpretation, but it is not the truth. So, in simple terms, qualitative analysis is raw data organized into patterns, and then it's about meaningful understanding as well. It's not about simple reading, it's about thinking carefully, being structured, and staying humble about your conclusions in order not to overgeneralize.